Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual on the weekend. What are we going to talk about today? I don't know. I think it's always I'm stretching at the same time. A good old stretch and stuff. You know what I remember? I don't know if it's really remembering, but I'm not really much of a physical fitness person. I'll be honest. Not that I don't like exercise so much, it's more like I certainly don't do enough as I should do. But you know, stretching, I remember well I guess we'll go on to it in a second. Hello everyone, right now in Fawnhollow it's 2:19 p.m. on Saturday, July 22nd, 2023. I'm bug off today, but we're going to ignore it. But I remember that when we used to have like PE lessons, physical education lessons, aka gym class for Americans, back in primary school, before we did any of the exercises, before we, were playing football or playing netball or playing one-time field hockey or playing, I mean, most of the time, I'm going to be honest, it was like football, cricket, netball, and flag football, or tag football, that's what it's called. You always start the PE lessons with a bit of stretching for whatever reason, and they were just like, oh, it's to limber up your like muscles or something, so you're less likely to tear them or something during a sport. Now, certainly I agree with that concept, but as I understand it, from secondary school onwards, when we actually had designated, PE teachers rather than primary school teachers who kind of had to be a jack of all trades and like know every subject, which is, a big ask, certainly. Yeah, when we got to secondary school, when we started doing PE classes, it's like, oh yeah, you're not meant to stretch before you actually start doing exercise as the first thing, because that actually increases the likelihood that you'll be injured or something like that, right? It's something along the lines of the best way to actually warm up is just to do some very light exercise, like, go for like a non-strenuous jog or something to limber up your muscles, or do like some star jumps or jumping jacks or whatever you want to call them. And stretching is something you're meant to do at the end of the exercise, because it's like you get the lactic acid outside of your muscles. I don't know why I described it in such a weird way, but you get it out of your muscles. And at least that's how I understand it. Again, I'm not like, I was going to say flawless at PE, but it's not really what I meant. I'm not like an expert in physical education or exercise or things like that. These are just the kind of things I'm sort of parroting, as I often say, these tend to be things I hear once, and then, of course, I have not fact checked it or ever since or anything, or it's just like the only time I've ever heard it in my life, and then I just sort of be like, yep, well, that's just like how the world works in my mind forevermore, because that's all I suppose I've had the exposure to. So yeah, I mean, like stretching, what's your favourite stretcher you like to do? And this is now, and I need to like throw my mind back to those days, being like, what sort of stretches you do. If you don't know, I'm a pretty flexible person, so stretching was never a big deal, I suppose, for me in that sense, because I feel like a lot of the time it would be like stretch and touch your toes, and then if you're not that flexible, you'd be like, oh, I can't actually touch my toes, which is fair enough. Not everyone's as flexible as everyone else. Everyone's got different physical makeups and experience with flexible things. I have a very flexible body. I'm like hypermobile, not to an extreme degree. I'm hypermobile in my fingers, my thumbs, my elbows a little bit, and I think that's it. And I can touch my toes or whatever. I think I spoke about this before, like a hypermobility index. It's like you had to get 6 or something out of 10 or something on the hypermobile scale, and it was like, can your fingers go past 90 degrees? Does your thumb something go backwards? Do your elbows extend past 180? Your knees, I mean, like, can you touch the ground, or like, can you? Is it you can get your palms on the floor? I don't remember. Anyway, the long and short of it is, I'm hypermobile. I used to do gymnastics when I was younger, so I ended up being quite flexible. But a lot of people obviously don't have that previous experience or that biological. I don't think wherewithal was really the right word. Biological body to have very flexible muscles and that sort of thing. So when they're just like touch your toes, it probably feels a bit awkward being like, I can't touch my toes, and you like look over to the classmate next to you, and I've got like my palms flat on the ground, and they're just like, what? But the point of the exercise, I suppose, is it's not a competition stretching, isn't it? It's to, as my gym teacher once said, is to get the lactic acid out your muscles, right? Because you build it up while doing exercise by doing like anaerobic respiration or something like that, right? And then you don't want that in the muscles, because that's what makes your muscles feel like tired or something. I can't remember, something like that. And yeah, So anyway, but basically, long short, what's your favorite muscle stretch? You know, you got, let me think, you got like lunges where you like sort of like lunge forward and you stretch. What does that stretch? Let me think. Your hamstring? Is that your hamstring or is that your hamstring? I don't know the muscles in my body particularly well, I'm going to be honest. I think the hamstring's the one running down the back of a lower leg, right? Like opposite your shin. Let's see. Hamstring. No wait, hamstrings, okay, the other one's on the backside of a thigh. What's the one like down behind your shin? Leg muscles. Wow, this is overwhelming. Gastronomicus muscle. Okay, well, I mean, what's like the common word for it? I don't know. Quads, abductors, glutes. No, that's not what I want. It's like, what's beneath a quad? Is it tricep? I think that's right? Tricep. No, okay, no, tricep's the arm. Wait, bicep, tricep, quadricep. If you think about it, it should be like quintucep or something. What's even a monocep? I don't know. Anyway, whatever they're called. You got them lunges. You got the ones where you go like side to side and you stretch like that in the inside part of your leg. I don't know what that muscle's called. I mean, your inner leg, I suppose, is what you would call it as like a tailoring or seamstress term, right? The inner leg measurement, isn't it? But I don't really know what it's called as a muscle. Can you imagine that? Just like being a gym teacher or exercise teacher being like, all right, now you got to stretch your whatever bit inside. Well, I guess stretch the inside of your leg doesn't sound that weird, but stretching your muscle which you don't know the name of. I feel like you probably should know the muscles if you're an exercise coach. That's my guess. Just saying. That's probably like a bare minimum. It's probably like me being like, or someone else being like, oh, if you're going to be a mathematician, you should probably know the order of operations. And then my answer to order operations will be like, oh, well, okay, yes, technically, but, you know, a thing that people don't realise is multiplication and division are one of the same things, so they're actually kind of like equal level. You're not meant to do necessarily multiplication first before division, or addition before subtraction, because subtraction is just addition of a negative number, so technically they're kind of like on equal levels. But really, the point of mathematical language and the order operations is so there's a standard, which means that mathematical language can be clear to each other. So if you write an equation down, it's unambiguous as what it refers to, but that doesn't always get followed. You know, people like to have these online viral posts being like, oh, what does this thing equal? Then people just apply order of operations, which is totally fine and all that sort of thing, but it's also the sort of thing, you know, you learn the time that mathematical communication of any language should be one of clarity. So if you see that sort of thing, you can call it out and be like, hey, you know, this is just like a badly written mathematical expression. What really you should be doing is you should be putting brackets in to make it unambiguously clear what you mean. Yes, okay, we have an order of operations, but that is just like a general sort of like underlying rule, when really the ultimate goal of writing these equations down is to be able to convey the point, not the point, but the actual meaning of the equation across, and be like, yes, this is explicitly what I mean. Sorry, bit of a tangent around there, but I'm just saying. Anyway, you know, I was going to talk about muscles, but now I kind of want to talk about orders of operations, but we'll save that for another time. Yeah, so muscle stretches, you got that one. What else you got? You got like the one which stretches like the front part of your thigh. Are those your quadriceps? Maybe, I don't know, your thigh muscle. And honestly, that's probably my favorite. You know, that's probably my favorite leg muscle stretch. You know, but the lunge I think is kind of fun, but also I don't know how to describe it except for stretching that muscle feels like thin. It feels sharp, I suppose, compared to stretching, you know, this thigh muscle, which I don't know. It doesn't feel sharp. It feels more like round. You know. I'm not like sharp as in sharp pain. It's more like it doesn't. I don't even know how to describe this in the slightest, but what can I say except for it feels sharp? It's just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. You can do it right now. Do a lunge, stretch that muscle, and then like stretch it inside of your leg by doing like a sideways lunge. You know, they feel kind of like similar in the way the muscle feels when it's stretched. But then when you do the thigh stretch, if you don't know, you stand on one leg and you bring your ankle up to your butt, and then you like basically kind of bring your leg back as far as possible, but when you're stretching, the one with the ankle to the butt, and then that's like stretches the front muscle of your leg. You know, doesn't that feel like inherently different somehow? I mean, I don't know if it's a different type of muscles. Again, I don't really know the muscular makeup of, well, any of the muscles, I'm going to be honest, but still, it feels different, doesn't it? Doesn't it? What other sort of like leg stretches have you got? But those are the only ones I remember. You know, But I think the sideways stretching one always feels like worse. It kind of feels like doing splits, which I, have memories of doing back in, as I said, as back when I used to take gymnastics, doing that stretch, and it never feels particularly comfortable. You might be like, can you do the splits now? No, I think it's probably been about like 15 to 20 years since I could do the splits. It's been a hot age since then. So, don't expect me to and be able to anymore. But, it certainly feels different in a sharper way, And am I losing my mind? Maybe I'm losing my mind. What other stretches are there? I'm just trying to think. There's a one where you sit on a pike position on the ground and try and touch your toes, or you can do it from standing up. That one's just basically the same. That one stretches like the back part of your thigh. I would put that a second. I feel like stretching these thigh muscles for quadriceps or whatever feels better than stretching the muscles back down in your like shin area. Wait, which one was the hamstring again? I literally looked it up and I forgot. Hamstring's the one where you do reach down and touch your toes, right? Yeah. Oh, calves. That's what I'm thinking of. Calf muscles, right? That's the one that you stretch when you do the lunge, right? Oh, there's also like, I don't know what it's called. It's not called toe raise. Maybe it's called toe raise, where you put like your one foot on the ground and then you just like lift one of your toes up and it stretches them. Oh no, this is it. You like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like when you see someone stretching, this is like the third stretch down that people do. You got the lunges first and you got the side to side second. This is number 3, is where you keep your knees together and one of them's bent forward and the other one you keep straight while you like lift up your toes or something and you stretch the calf muscle. I'm just like, I'm doing it. Hopefully you got a picture of what it is in your mind as well. But you can just imagine, like, you're watching a TV show. It's like, oh, it's time for like gym day, or this gym day, sports day or something, or gym class. And they're all doing these like stretches in the background. There's someone doing a lunge, or someone doing that side to side sort of like stretching thing. And then someone just like hands on their knees or elbows outwards, stretching their calf muscle like that. It's like the typical stretch, isn't it? There's also arm stretches as well. There's a classic one. There's 2 of them that I know of. There's one where you put your arm behind your back to stretch. I don't even know what muscle this is. I guess that's probably the tricep, right? And there's the one where you get your arm straight and you do it in front of your face. I might change my answer. I think this is the best one. It's such a clear indication of what you're doing. This is like the go-to. You're like, hey, I'm taking it from like a character creation, like artistic standpoint, so you have to forgive me. But hey, I'm creating a character. I need to show that they're sporty. They love to do exercise. They love to keep fit and healthy. What pose should I have them in? And 100% it's that pose. They're doing a stretch. Arms locked, one straight arm like directly across like the chest area, the like sternum. That's what it's called. Well, it's not really sternum. I guess sternum is a bit lower down, but upper sternum. I don't really know if that's what you would call it, but still. It's like that's the classic go-to stretching posture. You see that and you're like, that person, we know their personality straight off the bat. They're probably going to be a little bit loud, outspoken. They're going to love exercise. They love keeping fit. It's going to be like a recurring joke in the thing that they're the only one who knows how to like do any exercise or something. They probably like run a marathon and just like that sort of energy. It's like the go-to sort of pose. Anyway, I don't really know what I was going with. Slightly unhinged, but I'm just saying that's like El Clasico exercise stretching pose, right? What other stretches are there? I think the stretches I do most often are the ones relating to the wrist, to try and stave off carpal tunnel. If you don't know what it is, there's one of them is just you stick out your arm like straight and then you put your hand like to 90 degrees on it and then like pull it backwards. And you might be like, am I pulling it like in the way my fingers bend or against the way my fingers bend? You do it both ways actually. And you do it while facing up and you do it while facing down. You just hold it and you just stretch it for a bit. And I do this on the most, obviously, because I use a computer a lot. I use my arms a lot and my hands a lot for many of my hobbies and things related to it. So, this is a good way to hopefully stave off some carpal tunnel and development of a future. There's also like another one where you make a fist and you have like a high five open palm position. Then you make like a right angle with your fingers at 90 degrees to your palm, and then you bring it in like I don't even know how to call this. It's like a open fist or something, like it's like a palm, but your fingers are like tucked in basically, and then you do it where you tuck it in even more, and then you And then you do the 90 degrees from your arm thing with your hand straight out. I don't know if I could describe it properly. Probably best you just like look it up if you want to see it. But yeah, I mean, those are basically the only stretching exercises I do most of the time. Oh, how could I forget? Actually, you know what? I said all of those are being like the classic number one exercise things. I don't think a lunge is the number one classic exercise, stretching exercise. Number one absolutely has to be the side stretch, you know, where you stretch like down your hip or whatever. You can imagine, okay, you know, someone in like a wide stance pose, hands up in the air. No, one hand up in the air and the other in like a I'm a little teapot pose, and then they like lean over to the left or right, sideways to do a stretch. That's like number one stretch. You know, you see people, you'd be like, how do we need to convey the fact that they're stretching, they're about to go like on a run? Although, as I said before, I don't think you're meant to actually stretch like that before you go on a run or something. You're meant to do it like after, at least according to my PE teacher at one time. Maybe there's more context around it. I don't remember, to be honest. But something like that, you know, stretching to the side and then stretching to the other side. That's typical stretching pose. You know, I mean, hold on. Let's put that theory to the test. Excuse me. I'm gonna Google stretch exercise. I will see what is number one. I mean, okay, number one is a lunge, so maybe I was right with my initial instinct. No, but here we go. Number one is like Lindsay Lohan or something doing a sideways stretch. I don't even know what this one is. It's back pain relief. This person's just like in a fetal position. Number two is the quad stretch. That's the one with the foot on my butt. Yeah, this person also doing the side reach over stretch. This person doing like yoga or something. I don't really know what's going on. I'm just in Google Images. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with any of us. Yeah, it just brings me back to, you know, going on the field, as we used to call it, which is basically just like well, I mean, it was literally like a field, a grassy field that we used to do PE on. I don't know like what the norm is necessarily in other countries or whatever, but that's pretty much, I would say, one of the norms in the UK is just like you have a grassy field. Is it called a field? Yeah, you got a field. It's called a football field, isn't it? Where you would do like PE or whatever. We played field hockey in there. We mainly did like athletics on there, where they had like spray painted like a 400 meter lap around the entire field. And then that was like the number one event every sports day, was that one person from each year in primary school would line up from each of the houses. We had 3 houses, red, yellow and blue basically, and I was in the blue house. And they had to run a relay race, a 4x400 meter relay race for each of the years. So it'd be like year 6, year 5, year 4, year 3, I think. And there was also a primary school, a key stage, no, hold on. There was a key stage 1 one, where it was like, was there? Reception year 1, year 2? Did we make receptions? People in reception run 400 meters? Maybe. I don't know. But then it was the big one, the key stage 2 one, where everyone was like, oh, this is a big one, where you have, you know, you have people in year 3, so about 6 to 7, starting off a race, and then year 4, 7 to 8, 9, 8 to 9, and 10, 9 to... Wait, hold on. I got the ages wrong. Wait, year 6 is 10 to 11. 5, 9 to 10. 4, 8 to 9. 3, 7 to 8. Okay. I got them shifted in my head for whatever reason. Anyway, there was a big like relay race. Anyway, I did it actually most of the times because I was actually the fastest. For like in year 3, year 4, year 5, I did it every single time because I was the fastest sprinter. I was not the fastest 400 meter runner, I don't think. I didn't have particularly good stamina. I was pretty good at 100 meters and 200 meters, and then I fell off like a cliff at 400 meters. 400 meters, I was like barely holding on, but I was nowhere near the fastest in my class. Like the fastest person I remember, he was in the yellow house, and then there was quite a few like athletic people also in the red house. So it's just like me in the blue house doing it, except for the final year, you know. As someone, you know, actually beat me in the 100 meters sprint because apparently, I don't know, he was super into it. He was much more sporty than I was, but for whatever reason, I always beat him at 100 meters years before. I guess because maybe I'm tall or whatever. I mean, I'm an okay sprinter. He actually beat me that year and he was like, come on, dear darling, please can I run the final lap of a 400 meters? And I was like, yeah, please do. I hate running this every single year. Anyway, he ran it. What place did we come? I genuinely don't remember. Because even still, I don't think he was probably faster than... the fastest other 2 people who were in the other 2 houses. But yeah, he probably put up a good fight. And he got to run it at least once, I suppose, before graduating from primary school. Anyway, I guess exercise stretches is what I was talking about today. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.